Hi everyone, good to have you here. Welcome to the full class. Okay, all right. So just like we've mentioned from beginning, these are the subtopics we're going to be looking at today. Okay, so we're going to be looking at movement or shift in demand curve. We're going to be looking at the types of demand. Then we're going to be looking at the elasticity of demand. Okay, I just hope we can finish this class today. But if we can't finish it today, if we are not able to finish it today, we'll continue in the next class. So let's say this will be the part one, okay? Then part two will continue to the next class. Are you with me? All right, so I've drafted some questions that will help us understand the elasticity of demand. So after explanation, we're going to solve one or two questions to help us understand it the more. Are we together? All right, let's move. Now, when we say movement or shifts in demand curve, now there are two types, okay? We have what we call change in quantity demanded, okay? Then we'll have number two, we have change or shifts in demand, okay? We have under movement or shift in demand curve, there are two types. They are divided into two, okay? We have what we call the change in quantity demanded and the change, or you call it shift in what? In demand. Now, these two concepts are not the same for demand, theory of demand. They are not the same. I'm going to explain them one after the other. Now, when we say change in quantity demanded, this is the movement from one point to another in the demand what? Curve. Okay? The movement from one point to another, still on the demand curve. Okay? And in this case, it can be seen from two aspects. Number one, we'll call it increase in what? Quantity demanded. Number two, we'll call it decrease in quantity what? Demanded. Increase in quantity demanded and decrease in quantity demanded. Okay? Now, let me come again. Change in quantity demanded is not the same as change in demand. They are two different concepts. So I'm going to explain them. So we are starting with change in quantity demanded. Now, when we say change in quantity demanded, we are not trying to say the movement from one point to another on the demand curve, still on the demand curve, okay? And in this case, price is the influencing factor. Every other factors are held constant. Factors like taste, income, preference, close substitutes, and the rest of them, they are held what? Constant. Only price varies. Only price is influential what? Factor here. When we talk about change in quantity demanded. Are we together? Now, how do price influence this? Now, increase in quantity demanded simply has to do with when there is what? Change in price. Quantity demanded increases. Now, this can be synonymous to the normal demand theory that we all know, okay? When there is decrease in price, okay? When there is decrease in price, let's say from 15 naira to 13 naira, for instance, quantity demanded will increase from 30 units to 100 units. So when there is a fall in price, there is increase in quantity demanded. We are trying to explain this concept, increase in quantity demanded, okay? So when there's a fall in price, quantity demanded from 30 units increases to what? 100 units, okay? Now, talking about decrease, if you check, this is the movement that we talked about. The movement of one point to another point, still on the demand curve. Movement from this point to this point, still on the demand curve, okay? The price here is influencing factor. So change in price causes a change in quantity the what? Demanded. So in this case here, a fall in price, that is the change we talk about, increases quantity demanded from 30 units to 100 units. Now, decrease in demand here simply has to do with still the same concept, okay? Let's say 50-20, okay? Still 50-20. Now, increase from 20 to 50 will cause quantity demanded to fall from 100 to 30. At 20 naira, okay, we're buying 100 units. When it increases to 50 naira, we had to reduce our quantity demanded to 30 units. So this diagram now, or this illustration now, addresses what? Decrease in quantity demanded. Are we together? In this case, when it was 50 naira, we used to buy 30 units. When it declined to 30 naira, we now buy 100 naira. Do you see the difference between this? So this simply illustrates change in quantity what demanded. That's this. Now, let's explain change in demand, change or shift in demand. We are done with this one, okay? Now, when we say change or shift in demand, remember, in this case, price is the what? Constant, variable factor here, price. But in this case, every other factors are varied except price. All other factors, okay? In this case, all other factors are varied except price. Now, this is what we mean. Also, in this case, it is divided into two, just like this one, where we have increase in quantity demanded and decrease in quantity demanded. In this case, we have increase in what? Demand, okay, and decrease in demand. We are going to explain this, okay? Now, increase in demand. Now, let's use our illustration, okay? Now, change or shift in demand is different from change in quantity demanded. I'm emphasizing this again. Now, when we say change or shift in demand, we are trying to say the movement, not in this case now, not from one point to another point. No. In this case now, it is the movement of the demand curve to an entirely new position. An entirely new position. No longer on the demand curve. That is the movement of what? The demand quantity, the movement of demand to an entirely new position. Now, this is what we mean. Remember, every other factors are varied except price. So in this case now, price has nothing to do with this. Price is held what? Constant. Are we together? Now, we'll take for instance here, income. This is our income. And this is our quantity what? Demanded. Okay? So now, income, when we're earning 200, we used to purchase 30 units of what? Goods, maybe any commodity at all. Okay? Now, when the price is 200, when the price is 200, we used to what? Demand 30 units. Now, when the price also is still 200, we demanded what? 50 units. We are explaining increase in demand now. Increase in demand, that's what we're explaining. When the price was 200, we required or requested for 30 units, or we demanded for 30 units of goods. Still on that 200, our demand increased from 30 to 50. Now remember, you'll be wondering, in the previous one, we had something like this. Okay? From one point to another point here. In this case now, price is constant, just like I emphasized here. All other factors are what? Varied. Well, now, this is it. Let me explain further. This is it. When we were earning, let's say, 500 naira weekly, our weekly wage was 500. We requested for 30 units. When our weekly wage increased from 500 to maybe 1,005, our demand, quantity demanded would increase from 30 to 50. Our quantity demanded increased from 30 to 50, not because of the price, but because of our income. Please get the difference. Our quantity demanded here, or quantity here, increased from 30 to 50, not because of the price, but because of our income. Okay, so even at that 200, we still requested for 30 units and 50 units. That means the price didn't change. Price was constant. It's just our income that made us to demand that amount we demanded for. Okay, so the same thing, the reverse is the case for decrease here. Okay, the reverse is the case. Now, still on 200. Okay, let's use 30 and 50 also. So from 200, now in this case now, these are our new demand curve. Okay, it increased from 30 to 50. So these are our new demand curve. Okay, now in this case now, it will be a decrease because maybe we're earning 500 weekly. Then our weekly wage reduced to 200 naira weekly. So when we were earning 500, we were buying 50 units. When our wage decreased from 500, I'm using income for an example. There can be other factors aside price. It can be taste and preference. We can have our close substitutes. We can have other factors, technology and all that, okay? But price is not included. So when we were earning 500, we were demanding for 50 units. When our demand reduced from 500 to 200, our units decreased from 50 to 30. So this is what our curve will look like. So from this, this is our old curve. So this is the new one now. This is the new curve. This is the old curve. Now this is the new one. So change or shift in demand is the movement of demand to an entirely new position. Unlike the other one, it was still on the same line, but this one is an entirely new position. So forming a new demand curve. Are we together? Are you listening? All right, please use the comment section. Ask me questions where you don't understand. Subscribe if you're getting value. Like and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we upload new videos. Okay? Invite people to be part of what we're doing if you know we're giving value. Thank you very much. So let's continue. All right, so that's that about movement or shift in demand. Are we together? So now, okay, so next we're going to be looking at the types of demand, okay? So there are 4 basic types of demand, fundamental types of demand. We have the derived demand, okay? We have the joint, either you call it joint or complementary demand, okay? Then we'll have the competitive demand. Then we'll have the what? Composite demand. There may be other types of demand, but these are the fundamental types of demand. Okay? Now, when we say derived demand, what do we mean? Now, derived demand is goods demanded as a result for demand for another goods, another commodity. Okay? We demanded for this one because we have to demand for this. Do you understand? So the demand for one will necessitate the demand for another one. Okay? So for instance, if we demand for, if there's demand for bread, there can be a demand for butter. If there's demand for, what else? If there's demand for oil, there can be a demand for palm kernel, because actually you can't make a palm oil without a palm kernel. So derived demand is the demand, one demand that necessitates the demand for another one. Okay? If you must use this commodity, you must use this one as well. You can't use this one without this one. Okay? Now, when we say joint or complementary demand, these ones are demand or goods or commodities that are jointly demanded. They can't do it without each other. They are jointly demanded. It's not like you have the option to use one of them. No, you must use the 2 of them at the same time. Without one, the other cannot work. So they are jointly demanded. If you are buying this one, you must buy this one. If you are using this one, you must use this one. So it's that they are interwoven. They can't be separated. They are jointly demanded. They are together. Do you understand? A perfect example is your petrol, your fuel, and your car. Of course, even though you buy a car today, you can't drive it around town without fueling it. You must fuel your car before you can drive it, before it can be useful to you. So if you're demanding for vehicle, you must demand for petroleum. You must demand for fuel, because they are jointly what? They are joint commodities. They are joint goods. You can't use one without the other. Do you understand it? All right. Competitive demand. Now, this has to do with close substitutes, such that when there's an increase in the price of this one, the quantity demanded for the other one will increase. We have so many products in the market that are very close. A typical example is Ovaltine and Milo. Okay, they are both beverages. Ovaltine maybe is another company, Milo is another company. Okay, but for instance, I'm just giving it an example. Okay, if there's increase if there is increase in the demand or price of this one, it will what? Cause the increase, or it will cause the increase in demand for this one. Because when there's an increase in price of one commodity, the demand for close substitute will actually increase. Do you understand? All right, because consumers are looking for where prices are lower. So if one competitor increases the price for his or her commodity, the other competitor might likely reduce the price, which will also increase what quantity demanded. All right. So when we say composite demand, this is when one commodity is meant to serve two or more purposes. Okay, more than two purposes or more than one purposes. Okay, let's say this commodity. A perfect example is a palm kernel. Okay, it can be used for oil, can be used for other things. Another example is the crude oil. Okay, it can be used for petroleum, kerosene, and the rest of them. So when a commodity is meant to serve two or more purposes, or more than two purposes, several purposes, let's put it that way. If it's meant to serve several purposes, it is said to be what? A composite demand. Do we get it? Please use the comment section. If you're not getting it, if you need clarity, please use the comment section. I'm here to explain, okay? All right, please subscribe if you have not done so. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we upload new videos, okay? All right, so these are the major subtopic under types of what? Demand. These are the fundamental types of demand. So we are going to stop here. I don't want the class to be too long so that we take out our time to explain and digest the elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand is quite elaborate. So we're going to take our time in the next class to look at them, to look at it critically, okay? I've drafted some questions for elasticity of demand. I'm going to share them on the screen so that you see them. All right, see you in the next class.